Okay, I discovered number 33 Portland Place, and then after that, I started getting followed and harassed. I didn't know these guys were undercover police because of the way they were behaving. They were putting their hands in their jackets, acting as if they had weapons. They were waiting around corners for me. When I went to my home, they would wait behind the wall and just look over the fence. They would knock on my door, and then when I try and speak to them, they would just walk away. They were always on every corner. So whenever I walked down the street, you could always expect one of them to be waiting or two of them to be waiting, just staring at me. So that kind of behavior, I had no idea what it was about. And then earlier before that, one of them had actually said to me that I need to stop talking about number 33 Portland Place. So I already had an idea why this was happening, but I had no idea who these people were. This is a situation. If you're going to talk about a spy agency, for example, North Korea, a North Korean spy agency, if you cross the government and they send their people for you, what they will do is just simply tie you to one of those posts, get an aircraft gunner, and then just basically blow you up in front of everybody on television. That's literally the level these guys will operate at. If you're going to talk about Saudi Arabia, if you cross the Saudi government, they will put you on your knees in front of everybody in a town square, get the sword, take your head off. Now, that's a lot of power to have. They've got more power than the Russians. If you cross the Russian government, for example, they will still unalive you, but the way they'll do it is push you out a window. They will push you out a window and say he fell off a balcony. It was an accident. So they will unalive you in private, but everybody will know that they did it. The North Koreans, the Saudis, they'll do it in public. The Russians will do it in private, but everybody in the public will know it. But when it comes to the Americans and the British and the Europeans, they don't have that kind of power. So what they do is they have to be more sneaky. So they'll send a group to follow you and discredit you. And then one of the things they do is give you a substance that will make you hallucinate. So for example, if you're in public, they'll make sure they dose you with something like LSD. And then when you start running around and freaking out, now your testimony will be discredited. So if you start talking about there's a house, it's full of politicians and military people, they're the same people that are sending weapons to Israel to drop bombs on the children of Gaza, everyone's going to think you're crazy because there's a video of you running around, so you're discredited. So the idea is for them to make you look like you're a mentally ill person. So after I discovered number 33 Portland Place, I was dosed with an LSD type substance, and then that was at night time when I was in central London. And I didn't know I'd been dosed until I was on the bus and it started to kick in. I was around Aldgate East Station. These people were still following me on the bus. Everywhere I went, they were following me. So after I started getting the effects and the hallucinations, I said, right, I need to get off this bus. It was nighttime. I was around Aldgate East, which for people that don't know, that's East London, at nighttime. So I got off the bus and then these people followed me. And then they just kept following me on the main road. So I was worried I was going to get hit by a bus or get hit by a car. And that's the point of why we have got them to, why we've pushed forward with the charge for attempted murder. Because if you give LSD, a massive dose of LSD, to a witness of a crime, and you make them run around the streets at nighttime, that is so reckless that it goes to the level of attempted murder. That's why they have the charge of attempted murder coming at them. So they chased me around purposely, knowing that I was on the LSD. So I told myself, I need to get off of this main street. This is too dangerous. That was the first mistake. I went down a side street and then I started running from them around alleyways. They kept chasing me and chasing me and chasing me until eventually, after a while, I got to a housing estate. This housing estate had multiple floors, and while I was running from the police earlier, I'd already dropped my phone. So when I reached this housing estate, I started shouting to the neighbors. This was nighttime. Everyone call the police, I'm being followed by a group of people. Yeah. So then the lights started coming on inside this housing estate and people started watching. People were looking very concerned, but I couldn't see anybody calling the police. So then these people had already been chasing me around, and I said to myself, let me get away from them because I don't want to be a sitting duck. I've seen enough times that people have had a group of people around them at nighttime. They get cornered and then the people just beat them to the floor and start stamping on their head until they're dead. I didn't want that to happen to me. These people were still at the far ends of the alleyway. I knew there was nowhere else for me to go. So I jumped over a wall On the far left, I could see them in the distance. On the far right, I could see them in the distance. So I jumped over the wall and I waited inside that garden. The owner of that property, this was a ground floor garden, and then there was a window between me and the person. That person turned on a light. It was a lady who, her name turns out to be Harshita Bellini. She was the witness. So I saw her standing there with the light on and holding her phone, staring at me. So I started whispering to her because I didn't want these people coming after me. I started whispering to her, go inside the house, go inside the house and call the police, because I didn't want her to be a witness and they do something to her. And then she was just standing there frozen, because obviously there's some guy at nighttime crouched down behind a wall, shouting out to her, no, whispering to her, go inside, call the police. And she wouldn't call the police. So then eventually I made entry to her property, the window smashed, and then I tried to get the phone from her to call the police, because I didn't want to get rushed by this group of people that had already been threatening me. They'd already threatened to throw acid in my face. They'd done so many things that now I was already on LSD, freaking out. So I just tried to grab the phone from the lady. Obviously, I'm inside somebody's house now at nighttime. She's freaking out, trying to hold the phone. I'm trying to grab the phone from her to call the police because I didn't know I was being chased by the police. How are you going to be, no, you're going to be chased by the police the way they were behaving from earlier. So I'm thinking it's some group, something to do with 33 Portland Place, maybe some gangsters or who knows, some cult, who knows. So I'm trying to grab the phone from this woman. She's struggling. And then after that, I eventually get the phone after she's trying to attack me and I'm trying to defend myself. And then she ran into the bathroom. I didn't know it was the bathroom at the time, so I followed her to try and get away from these people. And then I closed the door and I said to her, don't go anywhere. These people are outside. You're a witness. Whatever they're going to do to me, they're going to do to you. Stay where you are. We're going to call the police and we'll wait for them. Just don't go out there no matter what you do. So she agreed with me. She said, okay, fine. So then there I was on the phone. I called the police. They asked for my name. I said my name. They asked for my date of birth. I said my date of birth. And then they asked the location. This was the problem. I had no idea where I was because I'd been running for so long. So then I gave the phone to the witness, Harshita Bellini. I gave the phone to her and, oh no. So I gave the phone to Harshita Bellini. That my phone just ran out of batteries. So we'll do it on this. I gave the phone to Harshita Bellini. She spoke to the officer and or to the reception, whoever was answering the phones. She spoke to the person, whoever was answering the phones. She gave her name, she gave her date of birth, and most importantly, she gave the address. And then after that, I think I remember taking the phone and I held onto the phone and spoke to the officers and I said, how long would it take to get there? And then they sent people. And in the meantime, I told her not to leave, not to go anywhere. And then I held onto the door while I told her to wait in an area where the bathtub is. And then after that, we heard the police arriving. So then when the police arrived, they looked around. I told them, come with me. I showed them the window and I showed the area where the people were, where I'd run from and where I'd been chased from. And then they saw that I was so out of it because of the LSD. They said, right, this guy is the guy who did it. And then they arrested me, which is fair enough. Obviously, you see some guy who's looking completely high, makes sense to arrest him. So I went completely freely, went to the police station. Now, this is where things start to get interesting. So when I reached the police station, they held me for a while in a cell, and then after they let me out of the cell, they took me to the interview room. In the interview room, they tried to say that I was a burglar, literally that I was a burglar. So I explained to them that I'm not a burglar. I'm the person who turned up to the location, shouted out to all the neighbors at nighttime to call the police. I whispered to the lady, call the police. I entered the property. I struggled with the woman to grab the phone from her to call the police. And then I ran into the property, waited with her in a room, called up the police, gave my name, my date of birth, handed her the phone. She gave her details. I asked her to give the postcode and the address because I didn't know where we were. She gave it to the police, and then I took the phone back and stayed on the line with the police, if I remember correctly, and then made sure that she was safe, and then I was safe, that we were inside the room, and I was holding the door, and we waited until the police arrived, and then when the police arrived, I hadn't stolen anything. What kind of burglar does all of that? Enters the property, shouts to the neighbors, tells him to call the police, enters the property, tells the woman to call the police, struggles to get the phone, calls the police, waits with the lady, asks her for the address. The police get the address and then waits with the lady after giving my name and date of birth and doesn't steal anything. What kind of burglar does that? And to make things even more crazy, the lady Harshita Bellini, the witness, actually defended me and said, no, he came into the house, he was being chased by people, and he was trying to defend me and stop me from being attacked by them because I'm a witness to him being chased. And then they didn't want to hear any of it. So they said, no, this guy's a drug addict, probably a burglar. He came into your house to steal. And she said, no, he came into the house because he was being chased and he was trying to stop me being attacked. They said, no, he's a criminal, he's a burglar. So then they charged me with criminal damage because of the window, assault because I was wrestling with Harshita Bellini for the phone to call the police. So they called that an assault. And then false arrest because I told her, don't go anywhere, stay in this room until the police arrived. And that's what we did. So they call that false arrest. So basically they put 3 charges on me. And then Harshita Bellini continued defending me. She's like saying, no, this guy was, this is my house. This guy was trying to defend me. They didn't want to hear any of it. This guy, they're trying to say, no, he's a drug addict. Look at him. He was completely high. He's some kind of burglar. He came in maybe looking for money. So I said, okay, here's my bank card. Look at my bank account. I give you permission to look at my bank account. So they went onto my internet banking and I took them through it. They looked at my bank account, thousands of pounds, dollars upon dollars. I'm not stealing anything. So they just looked at me and they said, okay, fair enough. You're not a burglar. Maybe we don't know what happened. So we're going to let you on bail. So they basically put me on bail. That part's another part of the story. But when I went into, this is the interesting part. When I went into the interview room, they said to me, by the way, Mr. Johnson, there's the tape recording machine's kind of playing up. And I thought, interesting. These guys are going to do something weird. I said, really? They said, yeah, we don't think it's working, but it's fine anyway. We'll do it without the tape recording machine. I said, we're going to do it without the tape recording machine. Don't worry, I'll wait until there's another one available. You can get one from one of the other rooms. It's fine. I'll wait. If I need to go back to the cell, it's absolutely fine. They were like, no, Mr. Johnson, we can do it without a tape recording machine. Nothing else is working, and all of the other rooms, they're not available for us to use their equipment. It has to be here. I said, okay, what's that in the top right-hand corner there? That's a camera, right? They said, yes. I said, that looks like it's got a little microphone on top of it, right? They said, yes. I said, perfect. I'll turn my chair towards it. I'll speak directly to the camera because it has a microphone on top of it. And if that microphone happens to stop working, things happen in this police station, don't they? If that microphone happens to stop working, no problem. If we go to court, there's a microphone and a camera. You can read my lips. So we'll have a recording of me with the camera. And if it stops working, the microphone, no problem. We can read my lips. Great. So then I turned my body towards the camera and I started doing the interview, talking directly to the camera with the microphone on top. And guess what? You guys can check everything. It stopped working. When we went to go and check on it, it stopped working. So the tape recording machine, no recording of my interview. The camera, the CCTV camera in the top right-hand corner with the microphone on top of it. Microphone stopped working, the visual stopped working, whole thing stopped working. I said, okay, no problem. There's CCTV on the street. I'm sure there's plenty of shops and I'm sure there's plenty of libraries or hospitals. I was running for a long time. There's buses, there's CCTV cameras everywhere. You've got CCTV cameras on the street, perfect. And then for some reason, for 2 years, my lawyer was unable to get the CCTV from them until eventually, because of privacy laws, all of the CCTV was wiped. Absolutely insane. All of this is in there. What's the chances of that? All the CCTV was wiped. The street CCTV was wiped. And then my lawyer my solicitor, Claire Dissington, somehow wasn't able to get that CCTV for 2 years. That doesn't make any sense. For all of these things to go wrong, it's very, very convenient. It doesn't make any sense. And then you guys will see what happened with the judge as well. So this is the short version. My equipment went out. It's very, very strange how it went out. It's never done that before. And it happens to happen right now when I'm trying to do this very, very, very important video. So the next part, I'm gonna put this out now, just so you guys have got something to watch. Then I'm gonna go into detail about Claire Dissington, my solicitor from GT Stewart, and then I'm gonna talk about the judge. And then also from Wood Green Crown Court, you guys will see all the details. And I'm also going to talk about myself here in Dominican Republic, where I'm still being followed and harassed. And it's been 6 years. They haven't been able to give me any details or push the court case forward. This is a court case that would normally take 15 minutes because I said I was there. Everyone said I was there. I confessed to breaking the window, and anything else you've said I did, I confess. The only thing I want is that you guys will admit the photographs of the undercover officers into the evidence. They refuse to do it. I've got photographs of their undercover officers and the locations of their police undercover locations, their buildings that they took me to before. They don't want to admit it to evidence. So that's what's going to go into the next video. I'll do a better video using the phone, which is better quality, but for now we'll use this stupid webcam just so I can get the video out there. And my call to action is basically, do not wait for permission to do your own citizen investigation, because the whole of mainstream media has been corrupted, all the way from the media barons, all the way down to the editors, all the way down to the journalists. They all want to keep their job, their salary, their money coming in, so they do not care. All of this 33 Portland Place, I have told all of the major news channels. I've spoken to them directly. I've spoken to all of the local MPs, everybody, all of the journalists, all of your major content creators that you guys know, that you subscribe to, that you follow, that talk about all of these things with Israel and Gaza. I've told them all about 33 Portland Place. If you have an influencer, if you have a content creator that you follow, and they haven't been talking about 33 Portland Place for the last 6 years, they're compromised. Every single one of them I've spoken to, I promise you that, they're compromised. So you have to really think, if the President of the United States is compromised, how easy is it to compromise those people? So that's where we are at the moment. So do not wait for those content creators to make videos about it, because they don't care, they're compromised. Either they're getting money, or they want to be in movies, or they want to be on television. So they don't want to anger the people who pull the strings, the gatekeepers. These content creators don't just want to be content creators. They want to be in Hollywood, they want to be in movies, they want to be in on TV shows, they want to be making music. Don't trust them. Do your own investigation. Okay, speak to you guys soon, and I'm going to have a next video. I just want to get this one out here because they keep doing so much to try and stop me. All right, speak to you soon.